From the Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek studio, PBS Kansas presents Empowering Seniors.
Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Kathrine Ambrose, and today we're talking about family caregiving and the different stages that we call the ladder of care. And to discuss that with me is Sam Cradduck from California. She's globally known for her brilliant teaching lessons, and we're so delighted to have her here at PBS Kansas Studios to share with our audience today. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you here. And so you're in California, but you're known, your number one market is New York City, number two is Sydney, Australia. Like, holy cow, how did that happen?
Yes, so I went globally viral in the last year, just with a simple approach to understanding aging, understanding care, and what our seniors are going through, what the family members are going through doing the care, and what professional caregivers have to deal with.
That is amazing, and this is going to be so valuable for PBS Kansas viewers. So,
yes.
So today we're talking about what you've deemed the ladder of care.
Yes.
So can you explain that for us?
So a lot of people don't understand the different levels of care and what goes on as we're aging and we're declining and we're needing a little more assistance. So that first step, that first rung on that ladder is your home care workers, and that's your aides that come in. They maybe assist with something as simple as meal prep. So think about it yourself. When you get to a point to where you can't do everything, you're going to want to use your energy doing what you enjoy, what's most important to you. But maybe you don't want to clean your house anymore or prep your meals or cook, or maybe you need a little more safety assistance when you're in a shower or bathing. Maybe you've declined a little bit further and you need some help with just some incontinent care and other hygiene issues. And so the caregiving, that first rung on the ladder, that's the one that comes in and they do what we call the ADLs, the activities of daily living, and keep you safely in your home for as long as you can. And so then
because otherwise it's the family probably, it's either nobody or maybe it's a friend, a spouse, a family person that's taking care of that.
Yes.
But that's very hard on the family caregivers. So let's talk about that for just a second. Why would you bring in help? And a lot of seniors are probably thinking, heck no, I don't want strangers coming to my house. So let's just stop on that first rung real quick. So why is it maybe essential to think about supplementing family care with home health or home care?
The biggest part of that first rung is actually those family caregivers, and they're the unnoticed army that we have in our world today, and they make up literally millions of people. There are 6+ million family caregivers that are in the fight, and they're doing all they can do. And so professional caregivers are also part of that, but the largest part of that first rung is your family. But it's hard. And the aging population needs to understand this, as well as those that are doing that. It's hard to manage your own family, your own children, and unfortunately most of them are still working. They're trying to pay their own bills while they're trying to worry about whether or not your bills are paid. And so those family role models that come in and do the care, and it's great, and our hats are off to those. And if that's what you have, then absolutely. But if you're using your family caregivers, please do it with some appreciation. But if you're also a family caregiver, you need to understand what the aged person's going through. It's really hard on those relationships and the dynamics that go on there. So we have professional caregivers. Not everybody can afford that, and not everybody has the means to have that. Some of our rural communities don't have access to a lot of the close professional caregiving.
Or it's harder to get it.
It's a lot harder to get it.
And so you're saying for the patient or the person that needs care, they need to understand the caregiver better, the family caregiver better. The caregiver needs to understand what the aged person's going through.
That's right.
They're partnering together.
That's right.
And we all need to be aware that the family caregiver, they do have their own issues. They might have their own marital issues, own health issues. They're taking care of adult children. They're taking care of grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They've got a lot of stuff going on, juggling a career. And so it's a huge toll on them, even when they're totally thrilled, to be doing it. It's still hard. And a lot of times 30% of the time, statistics say that the caregiver might not outlive the person they're caring for. That is how hard it is.
It is. It is. So when you have the spousal caregivers, you're seeing a lot of the stress that taking care of your own spouse. And what we fail to recognize and what we fail to realize is everybody's grieving right now. So you're grieving as the aged person, as the person that's declining. You're grieving what you anticipated your life to be like, because none of us ever expect to age with limitations. We all think that we're still gonna have the body that we had when we were 20, and we're gonna be doing the things we do until we're not 20, and we're going, oh crap, what happened? Why can't I move like I used to? Why don't I look like I used to? And so none of us anticipate ever aging with limitations. So when you get that spousal situation and they're taking care of their spouse, this is overwhelming. They're grieving the life that they thought they were going to have, what they hoped for, the travel that they planned, you know, that retirement that we all work so hard to get to, and then holy crap, a health issue comes into place, and you're not able to do those things. So there's all of this going on, and then there's just the stress. And so we lose our caregivers, unfortunately, you said 30% of the time. And we then have this person that's needing the assistance that's lost their main caregiver and their spouse or their family member.
So please, 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 if you can figure out a way to budget for it, work in having home care to come in to give the family caregivers some relief, but also, you know, provide some of those services that are essential.
Right. And if you're a veteran that's had active wartime, if you've been a wartime veteran, then there is a program called Aid in Attendance that so many people don't know about. Our veterans don't know, and the spouses don't know, and the surviving spouses. So it's available to the widows and widowers, and they may not even know it. So if you were married to a veteran, if you were a veteran, then thank you for your service, absolutely. But know that that benefit could be available, and it could throw some pennies in the bank to help pay for this care. So that's available. Long-term care insurances, a lot of people don't realize that maybe their parents took that out and they've been paying on it, and it's that policy sitting in a drawer somewhere. So we ask that, you know, you kind of let your loved ones know what you have available for you and look into that. Sometimes TRICARE will pay for some of the home care aids. Some insurance companies are starting to pick it up. Very, very few. Medicare doesn't cover it as of yet. So it's usually out of pocket.
So be very curious about what resources are out there.
Yes.
Reach out for resources until you find a way to fill in those puzzle pieces. But the other thing, the opposite end of the spectrum, is people that have plenty of money, but they don't think they do.
That's right.
But that's what you've been saving for, is for this time in your life, and take good care of yourself. So there's a lot of people that have money to do it, but they feel like they don't. There's even people that have tens of millions of dollars and they won't pay for care.
That's right, because they feel like they owe that all to their children. And so I teach and I tell those people, you don't owe your children this money. You've worked for it, use it, spend it on you, and it's not because I want those pennies in my pocket or somebody else's, it's because you deserve that care and the level of care that you need.
Well, think about this. Are you taking care of the kids that love you by taking care of yourself?
Yes.
And preventing some terrible trauma that haunts them the rest of their life because you didn't have care in place that you should have had.
Or taking the stress away from them.
Yes. Saving their marriage, saving their relationship with their grandchildren because they had a little relief from professional caregivers.
That's right. I'm not gonna pay for a caregiver so you can come over and take care of me. Well, you end up in a divorce, you've missed your son's graduation, you've all those things, but here's the money that you can have. And they're going, I would just spend it on a caregiver so I could go save my marriage. So we see those kind of things a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. Give me the money now so I can
have
you
money
taken care of and save my marriage.
Exactly.
But do spend the money to take care of yourself properly, or figure out a way to make that happen, because there's a lot of resources out there. So that's the first. That's the home care help. And then what's next?
So next would be your home health. So those are the nurses, the physical therapists, the wound care, those things that come in, and they are covered through Medicare. So those are the ones that the insurances will pay, but they don't come on your time. They come on when they can fit you into their schedule. And they're not there to do the ADLs, the things that everybody needs done. They're there for that specific task.
They're going to come in and take the x-ray even, or whatever it might be.
Whatever it may be. They may come in and do wound care. They may come in and do physical therapy. They may even come in and do a bathing aid, because bathing aids and bathing assistants can be part of that home health. But that's covered, but it's temporary. It's a short period of time, usually as a recovery from either an illness or an accident and a hospitalization, and that has to be doctor ordered to be able to get that.
Doctor ordered, the insurance is involved, and so there's things, that you have to go through to provide that. But take advantage of what you're entitled to.
Absolutely. Get everything that you can get and all the assistance that you can get.
I think the biggest frustration for family members is that, God, you're entitled to this physical therapy. You're entitled to these things. Why won't you say yes and let us help you so that we have, less
because I
urgent
don't
crisis.
Want to need assistance. Most of us, we're happy to have somebody come in and help us if we don't need it. But the minute we really need it, then our independence and our self-reliance shows up and says, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. And it's more of, I don't want to have that.
Right, and that's understandable.
Yeah,
but if you think about that it's counterintuitive, that you're actually shooting yourself in the foot.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're not protecting your ability to be mobile and keep your balance and feed yourself well and not have UTIs, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to lose independence by being stubborn, thinking, I'm going to be independent. Yes. But you're not doing the things to really help allow yourself to continue to be independent.
But we grow up that way. We grow
Our
up
generation's a little different because we've hired coaches and people to help us. And so
we have in the younger generation, but the generation we're dealing with, and this is something that people fail to realize, the generation we're dealing with, and especially from the female side, this is really the first generation of women that went into the workplace. And so they're trying to live up to the model of the silent generation, perfect moms, perfect homes, baseboards were clean, windowsills were all done, everything looked great. But the silent generation, those women oftentimes never worked outside of the home. So this generations were the ones that they're living up to this model. They're also held full-time jobs, tried to manage their own kids. So they had to become uberly independent. And now we're going in and we're saying, you need help. I don't need help. You're not going to help me. I'm fine on my own. And so that stubbornness that was such a part of their success will also be the same stubbornness that causes them to fail. And that's unfortunate.
And that's kind of what this show's about, is about empowering people so that they're aware of what's out there to really age more successfully.
Helping an aging person understand what's going on. You've never done it before. We say this all the time. You've never been this age. We're both older than we were when we sat down here. And so we've never had to live through this before, and we didn't come with a manual. So helping you understand the psychology of it, the expectations of it, the fact that, it's normal that things change and your body changes and your smell changes. All of those things are all normal. And it's okay to admit that your body's changed and you need some help.
And you often say it sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
It sucks to need help. It sucks to hurt. It sucks to a lot of things that go on with the aging. But it also can be so rewarding and so fulfilling. And when I refer to our aging, you've heard me say it before, they're the classic cars of society. They're the classic cars of humanity. And so we value things that are old, except for our older people. And we have to bring that thought process back into our communities. We can go to an antique store and ooh and ah all day long, but how many of us go over to an assisted living and ooh and ah? But that's our walking, living, breathing history books. That's what we're going to get. You can remember things that have happened 9/11. You and I lived through that. So we remember it, and when we tell about it with the emotions of the day. We tell about it with how it made us feel. So it's a different experience. But some of these teachers that are in school today, They weren't even alive. Go figure that. And so they tell about what they read in a book. So you lose a piece of history when you lose the emotions that are connected. So we need to reconnect with our aged population on all levels.
Very interesting. All right, so you've got the kind of non-medical care to help you stay well in your home. Then you advance to home health. So that's the medical people that come in and out to perform a task. And then what's next?
So then next would be your palliative care, which is, okay, I've got potentially a terminal diagnosis and I want to fight this, but I want to be comfortable while I do. I want the opportunity to still be in treatments. I'm not giving up yet. I'm not saying that this is going to end my life. I'm saying it potentially could, but I want to be comfortable while I do. So we have a palliative care that can come into the home, also covered through insurances. And they manage pain, they manage all of the side effects of the medications, be it chemo, whatever, inside the home while you're still doing treatments. And so a very important part, and not one that's utilized enough.
Okay, so you can get all these things in your home, but also your home could be a new place that you've moved to, or it could be in a senior living community.
Absolutely.
And you can supplement what you have available to you in your community with these services there too.
Absolutely. So in an assisted living, you can have any portion or part of care come in, as well as whatever's available there. Independent living, you can bring it in, but you're living in communal living, which is usually really good. I understand the wanting to live in your own home for as long as you can.
But you'd be missing out.
But there's some, there are some really cool things to have that community and that camaraderie and somebody to sit across the table from you when you're eating dinner. Because after you've lost your spouse, who wants to eat alone?
Yeah. Well, it just seems like the, scary unknown, but until you've been there and you don't know how great it can be. So independent living is non-medical, but you could bring in your home care support and your home health support and your palliative care right there. Or if you graduate to assisted living where you're getting some medical help there, you still might want more medical or more home care.
Exactly.
So
and a lot of assisted livings will hire, people in assisted livings will hire in a home care aide to help with a feeding assist or other things just to give more one-on-one, more individual care.
And that's what's so great about PBS Kansas allowing us to do this show is that who knows any of this until you're in the middle of it. And then you're like, what?
I didn't know that was available. I hear that all the time in my social media and in my teachings. I hear all the time. I didn't even know. I had no idea. I wish I had known this when my mom was going through this or my dad was going through this, or I wish I'd have known this. Years ago, I would have been using my VA aid and attendance. I had no idea. I've let all those pennies land in somebody else's bank. That was available for me. So
because there are a lot of people that pass away and they didn't use benefits that they had entitled to.
That's right. They didn't utilize and they didn't. And I tell everyone to call your local adult protective services. Everybody's so afraid of them. They're like, oh, those are the people that come in and take seniors out of their homes. That's not what they're there for. They're there to protect and provide. And most of them have a senior information and assistance. So if they have that available, they're going to know if there's utility assistance, if there's heating assistance, if there's caregiving assistance. And a lot of communities have that on grant money right there available for you. But you've got to make the phone call to say, hey, what's here?
Yeah, that's another thing that we see a lot is people that aren't using their heat, aren't using their air conditioning, or they're living in complete darkness, going through room by room, turning off all the lights because they're saving on their utilities. And this can be people that need to save because they don't have much money and maybe they don't know there's assistance out there, or people that have loads of money but they won't have enough lighting on there to keep themselves safe because we need a lot of light as we get older, like twice as much light by the time we're 50. And so when you are turning off all those lights, you could be setting yourself up for a fall or some other accident.
And a fall at an advanced age is catastrophic. It is catastrophic. It can be life-ending. And so you want to save yourself from that as much as you can. That's the big change. That's usually when we see people that are no longer able to live independently is as a result of a fall.
So kind of think about what's everything I can do to try to prevent some of these things happening so I can really live the way I want longer.
Right, you want to live your life on your terms.
All right, so we talked about non-medical home care, home health, it's medical people, they fly in and fly out, and then palliative care, so you come in and get comfort care basically, but you still can be receiving your treatments. And then
the hospice care.
The scary word.
The scary word, and it is so not scary. Hospice care is not scary. Hospice care is, yes, it's end-of-life care. But end of life doesn't have to end at diagnosis. End of life ends at final sunset. End of life is your final sunset. You live every day till you get there. And hospice care is there to help you live your best life until your final sunset. It's going to provide the comfort care. It's going to provide a bathing aid. They're going to provide all your incontinence supplies, any durable medical equipment that you need, any medications that you need, and all of that's paid for. All of that's 100% covered. And so use it. Absolutely utilize that.
Covered, and it's to help you live better.
That's right.
It's not about dying, it's about living better for each day that you have.
Exactly.
And having less pain. Sign me up. And so it's really something that does trigger people because they maybe have some trauma related, but hospice care is supposed to be a good thing.
It's because hospice becomes the villain in their story. You've got a terminal diagnosis, which means, and to qualify for hospice, if you continue on the path that you're on, your life's going to end within 6 months or less. The criteria would be that your life's going to end in 6 months. Does that mean if you're not gone, they're going to come in and off you? No, that's not what it's for. But it does have that criteria to be admitted into a hospice program. Hospice isn't a bad thing. But if you're passing, and I don't want to lose my mom, I don't want to lose my dad, I don't want to lose my spouse, I don't want to lose my loved one, I have to have a villain. And so frequently, hospice becomes the villain in the story. Not the disease, but the people that are coming in and doing the care. So it's got this bad connotation with it that shouldn't exist.
It's actually designed to be a beautiful thing by our government. Our government wanted this to be a good thing.
Right.
And there's so many dedicated hospice companies and people, and they do really good work. But you do want to make sure that they're focused on helping you the way you want.
Right.
But many people go on hospice and they just graduate right off of it and
live
get better.
many years.
And we've had that experience in our family. We had a family member that was on hospice so many times, and then she'd get better. And she lived for a very long time after, what didn't sound good, but she lived a long time.
Right.
So hospice can provide tremendous relief, and it also provides relief and care for the family. And
Exactly.
And it continues to care for them like a year after is what it's supposed to do.
Right.
I like your thought of live until that final sunset.
Exactly.
So we want to really live each day.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Thank you so much, Sam, for being here. I love your ladder of care explanation. I think that really helps. You're a delight. We really appreciate you coming to Kansas to be on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. We want to hear from you. If you have questions about any of the topics that we cover or suggestions for our next show, reach out. Email is empoweringSeniors@kpts.org, or you can reach us by phone at 316-686-4500. I'm Kathrine Ambrose, and I'll see you next time on Empowering Seniors.